This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
If your friends are nerdy and you are nerdy too, I want to talk to you. Friends talking nerdy.
This is the podcast making, public transit taking, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun, Tim the Nerd, welcoming you all to another episode of Friends Talking Nerdy. We thank you for starting your week off with us. Seated next to me, we have the exhausted but happy greatest legal mind of the Pacific Northwest, Professor Aubrey. How you doing?
Hello, Tim. As you noted, I am feeling tired right now.
Yes. That usually happens on nights that we record after you teach.
That's right. It's just a lot of teaching, takes a lot out of me. It's nighttime. But I I'm happy to be here and doing the podcast with you.
Well, I can imagine it's somewhat similar to like a performer high or something like that because,
Yeah.
the few times that I was an actor in my 20s in college, if only I could use that to score back in the day.
I know, right?
Yeah, I'm an actor, baby. Anytime you had a play and were on stage, like your brain kind of prepares you for battle in a way. Like a lot of times, you get prepared for that moment, but then once you're in that moment and having to face it, you run on instinct. And then afterwards, your body is just like, whew, we're safe. And then it wants to shut down unless there's weed at the after party,
Right. Well, yeah, so I definitely experience a elevated, just my nervous system is very keyed up
Mm-hmm.
while I'm teaching, and then like more keyed up than it is ever, like just really activated.
Mm-hmm.
Like every part of me is engaged in what I'm doing. And then when that's over, it's almost like I've been clenching my muscles during that whole time, and then you let go and relax, and you just kind of flop.
Yeah, so I had to get like a bike pump and inflate the professor back up after class. Walk her around like Weekend at Bernie's. Like that. We're going to do a show today.
What?
Welcome to Friends Talking Nerdy. I love you. Well, we thank you for putting the time in once again, time that you could be using for your own physical development, in this case napping, but putting the time in to being here with me and being here with our lovely audience.
Yeah, I love to be with you in the audience.
Exactly. Sultry voice there. Anyway, first of all, we got to start off. If you listen to last week's show, which we recorded a little bumper to start things off. That funny enough, we just recorded here a few seconds ago. Thanks, Time Machine. But we are now a part of the Deluxe Edition Network.
Den.
It is a podcast. It's a podcast network. It's not a paying gig or anything like that, but I didn't expect it to be going in. Let's be honest there. What this is a much better organized network of people than the Friends Talking Nerdy podcast network could have ever hoped to be.
Yeah.
It
seems very organized.
Yeah, and they got a number of podcasts that are associated
like hundreds.
Not hundreds, but close to 30.
Oh, 30, that's all.
Yeah, that's hundreds.
Oh, I thought it just kept going and going and going.
No, I'm excited. I've already, been contacting on Facebook Messenger because they have a group chat with some of the people involved in the group here. And going forward, you're going to see some cosmetic changes, of course. We're going to, for instance, at the start of the episodes now have the Deluxe Edition Network promo to start things off. at the halfway point of the show before we reach our main event, we will cut to a commercial for one of the wonderful shows that you will find on the Deluxe Edition Network. And in our show notes, of course, you will have links to various Deluxe Edition Network shows and other things that you can find as well. But I am excited for this opportunity because in the indie artistic world, whether it's indie podcasting, indie writing, or anything like that, the only way you can succeed is if you have a network of somebody in your circle that can help you. You know, like there's not many examples of somebody like making their own movie who was an agoraphobic and didn't like people, who made a movie that ended up being, you know, something that made over $1 billion. You're not, you know, maybe there's a writer that, you know, could write a book that could get people's interest, but think about how stilted, like the dialogue from somebody who doesn't like people would sound. You know,
Right.
I mean, if you're lacking certain things like that. So, especially important for people in our spot, you know, the more help you can get to, you know, amplify, you know, the voice here that we have at Friends Talking Nerdy, the better it's going to be. Now, would the end is like, would I complain if this turned us into like a multi-million-dollar podcast? Of course not, but I'm not exactly, you know, buying any new planes as of yet.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, like anybody that becomes famous that decides they should fly a plane, you know, just ask John Denver how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, too soon, maybe, but definitely proud to be a part of this, and more than anything, I think this is going to get Friends Talking Nerdy in more people's ears.
Oh, absolutely. People who never would have heard of us otherwise.
Exactly, and like a quick-moving virus, we will invade your whole body, and you will just find yourself unwilling to live your life without Friends Talking Nerdy in it.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what happened to me.
Exactly. Kind of like it got absorbed, or like there's
Yes, I've become part of the Friends Talking Nerdy.
Yeah, there's an episode of Doctor Who that happened in the 3rd season that was actually written by a fan that won a contest, and it's generally considered one of the worst episodes, but they had a villain called an Absorbatron. And at like the end of it, it's like this big guy, you know, they're trying to, basically they found a guy that sort of looked like Mike Myers, dressed up a fat bastard. And, you know, at the end of the episode, you had people, like, he had his shirt off, and you saw his belly, but the faces of some people that went missing in the episode were, like, alive and talking from his belly, because he absorbed them.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I don't want to be absorbed in that way.
Yes, I mean, think if you were absorbed in the butt cheeks. You know, if you're going to absorb, like, make it like a chest thing or something like that, but like butt cheeks, lower thigh, you know.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I think if I'm going to meld with someone else's body, I'm going to choose a very specific place, like a hand. That might be a good place to be joined with another person.
Or something like that. Yes, but this is what we do here at Friends Talking Nerdy, folks. For anybody that is a part of the Deluxe Edition Network that's listening for the first time, we ramble.
Yep.
And we have a good time doing it. And yeah, so each and every week we'll have some more information for you about the Deluxe Edition Network. Now, want to talk about the show here for a bit. I got an update from the Reverend Tracy.
No way.
Indeed, yes. She's Z is finally getting to a point to where they can talk to other people now because they're less busy. As we announced a few months back, the Baby Reverend was born.
Nice.
Successful birth, and the Baby Reverend is growing up to be a rambunctious little baby right now. Yeah, today the Reverend sent me a couple of pictures, which were like, "Oh, a cute baby." I'm glad I don't have any more myself, but
cute baby.
Indeed. And also today, as we record this, the Reverend Tracy has finally had enough time to be able to start contributing again, and has started making some memes for us.
Nice.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you know, like what I've learned about a podcast, you get the people that work in a podcast, you got to think of it like a band. You know, like you can have people that found a band, like Kiss, for instance. Ace Frehley and Peter Criss were, you know, two of the four people that started the band Kiss, but in the 80s ended up leaving that band. You know, they did found it, but they left it and no longer contributed to it. And while I think they have been, you know, compensated for the work they've already done, the fact that they left meant that they're no longer getting any sort of, it's not theirs anymore. You know, and for me, like when I think about the show, it's like the part of the band is one, the Reverend Tracy, because Z helped, you know, with the creation of the show. And then once Z ended up coming onto the show on a regular basis after episode 100, you know, helped with essentially helping shape the format of what we do on the show today, you know, because we used to have a lot more sprawling episodes out there.
Yeah.
Remember the marathons? I mean, during the pandemic is one thing. I mean, a lot of people did have a lot more free time at that particular point, but yeah, for an indie podcast, it's unrealistic to expect people to take out 2.5 hours out of their day. You know, that doesn't mean I do, you know, am ashamed of any of the content we put out, of course, but got to be realistic as a podcast in our position. We want to be able to create short and snappy content that is gonna just feel like Baby Bear's porridge, just right.
Yeah, just right.
And number two is you. You know, like I mentioned off air, like you have been a part of the show longer than the Reverend Tracy. Almost from day one, you've helped, you know, financially with the show. You've been our longest Patreon supporter, longest running Patreon supporter to date, and helped with other show-related expenses in terms of, like, you know, the trip to Seattle, for instance. You know, transportation, getting up there.
Well, but that was for your birthday. That wasn't, and we did the podcast.
You get my point, though.
Yeah, but like we haven't spent very much money on this podcast.
Well, yeah, I mean, we are smart on it, of course. I mean, primarily, if there was no podcast, we still would have done the same things in Seattle.
Yeah.
Right. But, you know, the fact that, you know, we were still able to do that, you know, was because of you. So, like, when I think of you, I think you like the Ron Wood of podcasting, of this show. What do I mean by that? Ron Wood, when he joined the Rolling Stones in the mid-'70s, you know, was hired and was just considered an employee. But through his work on the show over time, got to the point to where they were like, he's been a member of the band, you know, because it's like what I was saying too. Like the people in a podcast that should be rewarded for it are the people that put in the work. You put in the work. The Reverend Tracy puts in the work. I put in the work. This is our band. Just wanted to put that out there, folks.
Playing in the band.
Yep. But yeah, it was definitely great to being able to catch up with the Reverend Tracy again, and with having a young child, you know, in terms of the Reverend being back on the show anytime soon, we'll see. I mean, but that's, again, understandable. You know, I was a parent myself at one point. I know how much time, little time you have as a parent. And, you know, when you're somebody in her position with a full-time job, with a new house and a mortgage, with a young child, you know, I can understand not being able to be there, you know, week by week for the show, you know, but this is our band.
Yeah.
The band's going on, right?
Absolutely. The band's going on. The band played on.
That's right, folks. So just wanted to give you that update right there. Just we are always growing. We're always changing. We're always learning. But the band is here to stay.
That's right.
All right. We've had some interesting animal experiences this week.
Yes. Speaking of, you've got one of the cutest kitties in the world right there in your lap.
Yeah, little Miss Annie has taken to jumping on things like her mother. Like we've mentioned on previous episodes, like we do like to keep like the bathroom door closed, but you know, when we go in there, if they want to come in, that's fine. You know, I just think, you know, especially with some of the chemicals and stuff that can be in bathrooms, it's a good idea to keep them out of there. But, you know, one thing Annie quickly fell in love with is the sink and the tub.
She loves that tub.
Yeah, every time either one of us walk back towards the bathroom, she's following us and giving the most pitiful meow by the bathroom door with her tail up, like, please, mister, will you let me in so I can go see the sink, mister?
Yes, and she's very fast, and so you open the door and she just darts right in there and jumps up in the tub.
Yeah, so that's on me because and maybe it's probably not the best attitude to have, but I do think in some ways cats are curious on stuff that they're told no on all the time.
Oh
But
yeah.
if you give them a chance to explore a little bit, then they're less likely to want to continue to get up. To the trouble that you think they're getting into, even though it's just cats being cats. Damn it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we got some new toys.
We did. So I got a mylar ball, so it makes crinkly sound, especially for Mimsy because she really likes crinkly noises. And then Annie also seems to enjoy playing with it. And the other thing I got them was some fancy wet food.
Yeah, they've definitely been loving that.
Mhm.
Usually about 5, 6 o'clock at night, if one of us is in the kitchen, they're usually standing by the food, where we keep the food and just sitting there like, hello, it's been a while since I've eaten, sir. Look at the most pitiful looks and meows. But also, speaking of the kitchen, with Annie's love of the sink in the bathroom, the fact that we're not just letting her in the bathroom whenever she wants, she's found that there's another sink in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in the kitchen. Don't look at me like that, Annie. Okay. Yeah, so like we'll hear some little clinking noises going on, and then I'll walk into the kitchen and she's just on the counter, just sitting there like, what's up?
I'm the counter kitty now.
Exactly. Like, at first I thought it was, unfortunately, maybe there was, like a leftover food from like a dish or something that, she was getting up there and trying to get at. So, did the dishes, cleaned everything off, but she kept on doing that. And like today, as we record this, was the day that I first saw her she likes to just hop up there and sit.
In
On the ledge, like not in the sink, not in the kitchen sink itself, but like on the part of the counter, just in front of the sink. Now, if it's the bathroom sink, like when I'm taking a bath, she'll commonly come in there and just curl up in the bathroom sink. And like if she could sleep in that bathroom sink, she would.
That is so interesting, Annie Van.
Yeah, so definitely having fun with the cats. Mimsy is quite the cat as well. Like Mimsy have you ever had like a toddler or a kid no older than 5 like fall in love with you?
Oh yeah.
Mimsy is a lot like a young kid that, just really, it's like, you're the best, mister. Can I follow you everywhere you need to go, mister? You're so cool. Like today, she was sitting on top of the chair and just, I got a nice little picture with her.
Oh yeah, that was a very cute picture.
Because of that. And I've also been helping with getting them more time with the crows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, speaking of that, I posted the video on Instagram, but this is the first time I've ever seen it, and it was directed towards me. I had a crow sing at me.
Wow, what did it sing?
With the crow singing, it was just like a low hum. But what it would do is bow its head, and like right on the underside of its beak, there's like a little fleshy pouch. Like it allows them to store like tons of peanuts or whatever as they fly.
Uh-huh.
And so when the crow bowed its head down, that pouch extended a bit, and it was like a it was like a low hum. If you watch the video and listen, it's very faint, but I was able to pick that up. And when it first did that, I just got the video and then the bird flew off. But that same bird came back a few minutes later and kept on doing it. So it was raining out. So the crows like looking in already. We're oddities to them, but in a curious way. And so I went and got my boots, put my boots on, grabbed some peanuts, went out there. The crow stayed on the railing. And the crow was looking at me like the crow trusted that I would not approach and do anything stupid. I don't think the crow would have been on the railing if it felt in any sort of danger at all. But it just felt like this crow was like, "You're all right, sir. You're putting out the nuts." And I went out there, put the nuts on the table, looked at the bird on a couple of occasions and talked to it. The cats were behind the screen door, so the bird saw them as well. And then ultimately it walked back into the house. And once I closed the door to the deck, that's usually when the crows will go to the table, and that's what happened this time. The crow went to the table, but that was totally cool to have the crow sing for me to get my attention and then just hang out with me. Just cool.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think it understood that, you know, I wasn't going to, like, try and pet it or, you know, do something stupid. I wasn't going to be like that little girl from Finding Nemo. "Hello, fishy." You know?
Oh my God, I hate that girl.
But that has been our animal event of the week. Did you have any more you wanted to say about our girls?
No, I just feel like you're really lucky that you had a crow sing at you. I would like to have one sing at me. But I'll tell you about something that's been annoying me lately.
What is that?
It's like Christmas already everywhere I go. And it's not even Halloween. I mean, it's never really bothered me before. I've always been like, what's the big deal when people complain about it? But there's just something about, like, it was just 84 degrees 3 weeks ago. And now it's time for peppermint ice cream and eggnog. So everywhere I go has eggnog now. It is eggnog season.
I can understand, you know, stuff like eggnog being on the shelf on November 1st, you know, and going forward from there, because I think eggnog, something like eggnog, because that was the big thing that you were upset about at first when you brought it up here. But, you know, eggnog is still a drink that, you know, goes well for, like, Thanksgiving as well.
Oh, yeah. You can have eggnog at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, but to your point, like, we're not even, I mean, it's a few days away as we record this. By the time you hear this, Halloween will have passed. But to your point, we are not at Halloween yet as we record this. So having it there reminding us, I mean, all it is it's a marketing ploy. I mean, you know, think of how many businesses in July will have their Christmas in July sale. You know, it's all become marketing. If you look back in history too, like, we had holidays that we supported and whatnot. Even every nation has had its own separate holidays, but, like, it seems like in the 20th century especially, the holidays were just commercialized more and more and more. Like, our image,
everything was commercialized more and more and more.
I mean, our image of Santa comes directly from Coca-Cola ads at the start of the 20th century. I get the frustration of seeing that so early, because all it is some corporate douchebag sitting somewhere like, "We need to make more money this quarter. Let's have a sale." Yeah.
Right. Or like people like eggnog and peppermint ice cream and pumpkin spice because of its rarity.
Yeah, if you have something that's like diamonds, something that's rare but plentiful, you know, people will ultimately get the idea, get the hint at some point that, you know, hey, there's something going on here. Diamonds are a lot more plentiful than the diamond companies would make you believe.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about the diamond industry.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a good Adam Ruins Everything episode about it.
Oh, we should watch it.
Yeah, indeed. But anything more about eggnog?
No, it's just annoying me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just excessive holiday cheer this early. We don't need to hear that. We don't need to hear Christmas songs. We don't need to hear Mariah Carey. And we don't need to hear those damn cats running around in the background. That's
right. We don't need to hear any of that.
Any of that. No Christmas, no nothing.
It is the time between holidays.
Exactly. So, anything more to say about Christmas? Nope. All right. So, sit back, relax, and listen to this commercial. And we will be right back.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to Quad Pro Quo. Right now, you are probably thinking to yourself, oh great, another movie podcast. Well, dear listener, you would be right. But throw in a couple of marriages, decades-long friendships, and a shared property line, and you have just another movie podcast with a shitload of drama. Inspired by the iconic quid pro quo scene in Silence of the Lambs, each week one of us will pick a movie. It could be a childhood favorite, a classic film noir, an Academy Award winner, or a complete dumpster fire that brings joy to that person's heart. The selector's objective? To get us to love, or at the very least, not hate their pick. Will our marriages, our friendships, and our neighborhood survive? Find out each Thursday on Quad Pro Quo.
All right, we are on to the main event of our episode this week. And this week, we're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times on Friends Talking Nerdy. We're going to be talking about music, but we're going to be talking about it in a different way. We're going to be discussing an article that we found on Psychology Today called How Music Can Keep Aging Brains Healthy by Dr. And I apologize for mispronouncing this because I assume I am going to, but Shahram Heshmat, PhD. And yes, we're going to go through some bullet points that the article talked about here in terms of just how important music is for cognitive development, even for us older folks. You know, like I'm 47, you're 48. You know, we're
49.
You're 49. And you're like, how many other things have you forgotten about me, Tim?
Exactly.
You bastard. But we're getting older, and it's important to prepare for old age by taking into consideration things like this, because if it's doing something as simple as, you know, listening to an album every day is going to be even something that's a small thing, but small positive contribution towards making your old age as good as it can possibly be, why not do it?
Absolutely.
Right.
You know, I really think that older people in particular can benefit from music. And, you know, I think it helps kids as well with their development. But it seems like, you know, I was telling you when we were talking about this topic that I've seen documentaries where there are older people who have seemingly cognitive impairment and that can't remember things and that is not active. And then they'll play music from that person's youth. And they'll be up dancing and talking normally and walking. And it's really amazing.
Look at Glenn Campbell. The last years of his life, he battled with Alzheimer's disease. And, you know, got to the point where it was really hard for him to basically function, but he still had some touring commitments to take care of. And he knew that by doing so, he'd be helping his family out money-wise. It wasn't like he desperately needed the cash. But, you know, he wanted to make sure that, you know, his family had a nest egg when he passed on. But, like, in normal conversations with him, apparently it was tough for him to remember a lot of stuff. But he got up on stage, picked up that guitar, and sang Rhinestone Cowboy like he sang it for the first time.
I love Glenn Campbell. He's definitely of the 70s.
Yeah, I don't think Justin Timberlake could pull off Rhinestone Cowboy now.
No.
Justin Timberlake, as we've discovered, I mean, we've already known this and suspected this, but like Britney Spears released her memoir and apparently stated that Justin Timberlake got her pregnant and they had an abortion that she kept from her parents.
Oh my God.
And the whole song Cry Me a River apparently is a slight against her. Total shock, I know.
Wow, I'll have to re-listen to Cry Me a River.
Yeah. Timberlake is a douchebag, but again, I think that's something that's pretty been common knowledge.
I mean, yeah, there was definitely something between them. But I guess the thing is, like, why would you expect young teenagers, young adolescents to be able to function at that level at that age?
Another thing to look at here is they're not the only kids that have grown up in the entertainment world, whether it be doing Disney Channel shows or Nickelodeon shows, who have talked about rampant abuse. Like, there's a guy that used to work on Head of the Class. His name is Dan Schneider. Do you remember the big burly guy that sat in the back of the class in the TV show Head of the Class, if you ever watched it?
I did watch it, but I don't remember him, no.
Okay. Anyway, he went on to create and produce some of Nickelodeon's top shows in the 90s, like iCarly.
Oh,
and stuff like that. I mean, we're not talking groundbreaking stuff here, folks, but got ratings among the teen set, whatever. But, you know, it's been an open secret now of just how disgusting that set was, you know, that whole ordeal was. And, you know, there have even been stories about stuff like Britney Spears, the crap she had to deal with, you know, as a kid, you know, growing up working on the Disney Channel shows.
Mm-hmm.
Just how we like to pat ourselves on the back all the time, stating, you know, we're so much better than we used to be, but we end up finding out that no, we're really not, you know?
Right. And the people with power and money still do the same things.
Yeah, because even in the 90s, when you lived through that era, was presented as this it's just, you know, this new era where everybody was this, you know, on the same level or something like that. But you still had like a lot of the Harvey Weinstein stuff happened during the 90s.
Oh, yeah. Like, I was very active and involved in women's rights in the 90s because there, were examples everywhere of women being abused, taken advantage of, paid half what men are paid, etc.
And the fight goes on, And what does that have to do with music? I don't know, but we ran here, folks. So
Let's start.
Yeah, we're going to start the article here. We got 5 bullet points. The professor's going to start us off with bullet point number 1.
Number 1, cognitive reserve. Cognitive reserve is the mind's resistance to age-related brain damage. Research has shown that stimulating life experiences like education level, mentally challenging occupations, and lifestyle habits like social engagements and physical activities are associated with higher resilience to age-related brain diseases. Music is known to be cognitively stimulating, and it could contribute to building such reserve throughout the life's course. Music makes unique demands on our nervous system, e.g. perception, cognitive control, memory, and motor skills, among others. For example, lifelong musical expertise seems to reduce cognitive decline. However, it's not necessary to be a professional musician to benefit from musical training. Research shows that even short-term musical training strengthens cognition in the elderly. As someone who grew up with musical training, I totally agree. I think it deals with a totally different part of the brain than anything else. And it's hand-eye coordination, it's balance, it's ear, it's aperture. It's like you're controlling so much of your body in order to make music with your physical self.
Yeah, and I think the important thing that that bullet point did touch upon was the fact that of not thinking of your music training in the mindset of, this is something that could make me money someday.
Oh, right.
It's in terms of just, the brain is another muscle you have to constantly work out. And if you don't train your brain, it's going to stuff and things unpossible, right?
Impossible.
Yeah. It's not going to work correctly. You're gonna, if you don't, physically work all your arms and whatnot, you're not going to be able to pick up 300 pounds or more or whatever,
Or even like 50 pounds.
That too, yeah. And to your point too, yeah. I mean, with music, it's not only the physical aspects of it in terms of like guitar, for instance. Learning finger placement on the fretboard as well as correct strumming. It's also soul. Because think about all the people that have the technical skills to play good, whether it be a musical instrument, singing, or whatever, but just have no soul.
Yeah.
I mean, Axl Rose may be overall a shitty singer, but he's got soul.
He's got something.
Yeah, I mean that. He's not
social disease.
Yeah. Anyway. Anyway, shall I go on?
Yes, please go on.
All right, number 2, brain plasticity. The concept of neuroplasticity suggests that the brain is malleable and shaped by experience. Importantly, this happens over time and in response to a specific new skill. Research studies have identified structural and functional differences between the brains of musicians and non-musicians, especially in regions related to motor control and auditory processing. Evidence shows that even short-term musical interventions can promote brain plasticity and increase gray matter volume. For example, in one study, adults aged 60 to 85 without previous musical experience showed improved verbal fluency and processing speed after a few months of weekly piano lessons. I mean, there's nothing to disagree with in that particular paragraph right there. And I think, again, it goes to show the importance of keeping your brain active. You know, like you don't want to be 50, 60, or 70 years old and spending 90% of your time in front of the television.
No, you don't. Because then your brain will not work properly. And then it just starts feeding on itself. It's the negative feedback loop. You have got to maintain positive forward progress.
Yeah, and again, what the important thing that I'm glad this article has brought up, and the point I will try to hammer home here, is the importance of thinking of the mindset of just this being a hobby for you. Because even if it's just you at home teaching yourself how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb on a ukulele, that's something.
Yeah, absolutely. And the joy of making music is just incomparable for me.
I mean, think of how much money you could save yourself too by being able to make your own music. Think about how many family gatherings or gatherings with friends that you have that including songs would make that experience so much better.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the greatest things that you can do when you do know an instrument is play for other people that you care for.
I would like to play my new track, Lick My Love Pump. Yes.
It's not only that you save money, it's like my friend Patrick and I used to say that you'd never be bored if you had a guitar.
Unless you were playing like 80s hair metal, like love ballads, you know.
But if that was what you really liked, you wouldn't be bored.
But who really likes that anyway?
So nobody would be doing that.
Exactly. You know me. I'm the dumb one here. How about you go on with the next bullet point?
Okay, number 3. Background music. Even passive music listening can result in improved cognitive abilities, e.g. reading comprehension or driving ability, that are crucial to the daily living in elderly adults. For example, simple passive exposure to background music, particularly classical music, during cognitive tasks is shown to improve elder adults' cognitive processes, such as processing speed, working memory, and episodic memory. Listening to music that stimulates a positive mood improves cognitive performance. I find it much easier to work listening to music. I find it much easier to relax and enjoy myself when there's music. I feel very awkward when there's not music. And sometimes it's hard for me to decide what to listen to or to do the work of turning the music on, but I want it to be on all the time.
And I think one thing they touch on here in the paragraph, which is interesting, is it's that phrase, listening to music that stimulates a positive mood. Because and we're going to be touching upon it here with the next bullet point that you do after I do mine, but you know, there is music that can make you feel down, that can make you feel sad. And, you know, if you listen to that on a consistent basis, it can affect your mood in negative ways. Like if you are already going through a depressive episode and you start listening to like some Evanescence or something like that, you know, things are going to go a lot worse for you. So, you know, knowing the right type of music to listen to, you know, during anything, it could be something as simple as, you know, like you said, when you work throughout the day at the office here, have music running in the background. It can be anything. You don't care what it is, as long as there is some form of music playing. But it could also be for, you know, other things as well. Like when I'm writing, I love to have music playing as well that kind of puts me in the mood of the scene I want to create at that time.
And that's why your working playlist is so sort of intense.
Yeah, because
I really like that playlist. I listen to it almost every day.
Yeah, I have a master playlist that I put Not every single song I absolutely like on, but songs that create a mood and moods that, I want to capture in my writing, which you can go read on our website or on the show's Substack. If you subscribe to our Substack newsletter on occasion, you'll have some of my fiction.
We've got a Substack. We've got a Substack.
Yep, with some of my fiction on there. As we are recording this today, I released a short story called Jitters that I originally wrote in my 20s on there, and looking to actually write a sequel to that one.
Yeah, that was my idea. Just saying.
The idea person here, yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, shall I go on with the next one?
Yes, please.
All right, memory. Music can open forgotten doors to our memories, such as weddings, school dances, and parties with little cognitive effort. Music helps to recall all the memories that you're connected with a song. For example, the reminiscence bump is a concept used to describe enhanced memory for events that occur during adolescence and early adulthood that are often sharp. A song becomes a soundtrack for a particular time, such as during a summer hanging out with a specific group of friends. Wow, I mean, that is 100% true. Like, for me, like, this is an example for me. The song Angel from Aerosmith, anytime I hear that, it brings me back to 2:00 in the morning on a Friday night in Grand Rapids, Michigan, watching Friday night videos.
Really?
Like, I can feel that room when that song occurs.
Yes. I have that experience with many songs.
Mm-hmm.
I really connect with music. And so when I remember things most is when I'm hearing music of that era. And I have very episodic musical taste, meaning I might like something for 5 years and then be like, I don't like that anymore. I'm not going to listen to that anymore. And so then when I do hear it, it's like I haven't heard it in so long, and it's just so emblematic of that whole time period that it just is very memory provoking.
That's like me with Kid Rock. There was a time I liked his music.
Kid Rock.
Yeah, like I've had some questionable music choices throughout my years. I did like Ice Baby, for instance. So sorry there. And Kid Rock was someone that I did like for a while, but listening back to it now, I can't. It's just not good.
Yeah.
I think. And more than anything too, what always turns me off is like, it seems like all of his songs include like, I like listening to this person and this person. It's like, who cares what you listen to?
Mm-hmm.
Shut up. But it also, listening to his music also kind of brings me back to that era when I did like his music. That version of me, I'm glad I'm not him anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you remember what being him was like, and it wasn't fun.
Yeah. And like, I'm like, basically too, I'm just so much of a better person compared to what I was at the time. Not to say that I was like, a deviant hood with a cigarette in my lip and go, hey, Tips, you want to go on my hot rod and we'll go to the sock hop or something like that? No, I wasn't like that. I think a lot of people have that experience of, being a dumbass in your 20s and then just realizing, oof, I'm glad I learned the lessons I did and I'm not having to go back to that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I meant by that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. You want to tackle the last one? And, we did kind of briefly touch upon this before.
Yes. Mood regulation. Music has a great power to evoke strong emotions and intense pleasure, thus altering subjective mood and arousal. Music as an emotional stimulus can be used as an aid for escaping from everyday life through imagination or the evocation of autobiographical memories. Furthermore, musical activities often involve social functions, promoting social contact, empathy, cooperation, and a sense of belonging with others. Yeah, I mean, I think all of these things are really important, like moving your body, having friends, doing self-care things. All of these things are so important for mood regulation, and music is a really big one.
And music can definitely evoke strong emotions. Like, think of times in your life to where, like, you're training for something, whether it be studying for like a big exam, like when you were studying for the bar exam, for instance. Didn't you say you had like Eminem's "Lose Yourself" playing all the time?
Oh yeah,
Other
that was my
like
that was my song for the bar exam was Eminem's "Lose Yourself," and I listened to it every day. Also, Nessun Dorma, which is a classical song sang by Pavarotti and was used for the Winter Olympics from wherever they were from, Torino. From Torino, because it was Winter Olympics time when I was studying for the bar. So I would study from like 8 in the morning until 5 o'clock at night, and then I would basically watch bad TV and until the Olympics came on. And then I would watch the Olympics.
And again, I kind of touched upon this in the previous point, your previous point here, but music, it is important to kind of keep an eye on the music that you're playing too. What do I mean by that? There can be music that ends up affecting you in a negative way. Like if you are going through a breakup, there are certain songs you probably shouldn't be listening to that especially for guys, that kind of spur on the negativity.
Like what?
There's a song from Bill Hicks called Chicks Dig Jerks. I think the opening line is Hitler had Ava Braun, Manson had Squeaky Fromm, Ted Bundy got lots of dates. I wonder what I'm doing wrong. I don't pretend to understand women's little quirks. Just the one thing I know for sure, chicks dig jerks.
Well,
But I mean, it's funny. It is funny. I laughed at it. But if you are going through something like a breakup, maybe listening to that over and over again is not helping you get out of the mood that you are currently in. It's just more adding gasoline to the fire. And, if you are having depressed moods, listening to extremely sad songs can help that mood get worse.
Yes.
And I'm not suggesting that people should always only listen to something like Shiny Happy People all the time, even though I do like that song. It's goofy in its own way. But just watch the mood of the song. Like you can have something like a Motorhead song play, but, Motorhead, there's still a positivity, in a way. It's not
some of their songs, not all of them.
Not all of them, but something like Ace of Spades is meant to like be a kick in the ass and having you up and cheering by the end of it,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So music at the end of the day here to kind of close things out. We've talked about it many times. It's a vital part of life, whether you're a huge music fan or not. Like we all have that song for that occasion that, every time we hear it, it brings back a memory. Think about how many married people that are out there that hear that one song that makes them think of the person they love and they get a goofy smile on their face.
Mm-hmm. Only married people do that?
Or not only married people, we're talking people that are also in committed relationships for long periods of time that have not gone through the legal process of getting married.
Okay.
So there you go.
But you said they're with married people. I was just clarifying.
This is what happens when you do a show with a lawyer.
Oh, God.
Can I get off the witness stand, please?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else you would love to say to our lovely audience before we wrap things up?
Just thanks for listening.
Like, I gotta go. I'm tired. All right. Thank you all for listening, folks. Each Monday we'll have something in this podcast space to entertain your ear holes. Until we meet again, we bid you adieu.
So long.
And thanks for all the fish.
Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy on iTunes, the Google Play Music Store, as well as Spotify. Remember to support Friends Talking Nerdy on Patreon. Goodbye, darling.